Afternoon, everybody. Can I have your attention? We are now back in the room. So how is everyone's magical mystery tour? All good? Yes? Okay. Those of you that are on the WhatsApp, you should have received lots of information. Please post like you've never done before. I think we've done an estimate. There's over 20 million followers here in the room with all of you combined. Tell them all where you are. Make them really jealous. Okay. FOMO Central, RSVP FOMO. Just do it. And you should have that information. So we're continuing, and we have Megan Ely taking us down a long and winding road.
The long and winding road that leads to yonder.
So, 20 years ago, I jumped into the world of weddings right after school, and I was officially hooked, despite the fact I was one of those bottom rung jobs where you're working every night and weekend and pushing all the tables around. Not to brag, building a little credibility here, my office was a hallway. And despite all of that, despite all of that, I knew that the wedding industry was going to be one of the loves of my life. Now, when you come to this conclusion, what you inevitably want to do is you want to seek out brands who have really been out there for the long haul, and you want to emulate them. In my situation, I was given a blueprint of exactly what not to do. See, I moved to Virginia. Woo! No, nobody. Just me. It's fine. Moved to Virginia, wanted to do a ton of networking, jumped right out in there, met all sorts of people, including a bright and shiny photography pair. You know the type. They charged the most in town because they made sure we all knew that. And they were just at all the networking things. Everyone wanted to be like them. Everyone fawned all over them, wanted to be at their events. Now, it was probably because I was 22 and I had no bias and I was just coming in. But I looked and I saw a million red flags with these guys. Little things, not huge things that I would look at and think, oh, these guys are going down. But no, it was just little subtle things. They would go to these events. They would sit in the back. No offense to my backseaters, by the way. Here, you guys are fine back there. I realized the minute I said it. They sat in the back. They stuck with this small group, and they just chit-chatted the whole time with each other. Never talked to anybody else. Their relationships in town were interesting. You see, I was in venues, and I noticed there was this huge difference between how friendly they were with those who had the biggest budgets. It was kind of icky. It was kind of gross. And on top of that, over the years, they would all get this new and sexy branding and hire the latest and greatest wonder kid who's doing all the branding. Yet their style, their photography style, never really evolved. Now, fast forward a bunch of years, about 10 years in, and they were nowhere. We didn't see them anymore. They came up in conversation. Someone else brought it up, and they said, oh, God, are those guys still in business? And then the kiss of death. They're so old-fashioned. Now, a pettier side of me would have been like, I knew it. I called it 800 years ago. But no, I was bummed because you don't want brands to, you don't want to see that. But I was frustrated. I was frustrated because there were so many parts of their journey where they could have course-corrected, and they could have done better, and they could have stuck around. There's so much they could have done for longevity, which is what we're here to talk about today. Now, this is not going to be a talk just of a case study of one. The fact of the matter is, as someone who worked in luxury venues, I moved on to publicity. I've had a front row seat to so many wonderful, successful people. So we're going to pull some of those anecdotes in as we talk about longevity. There's going to be some statistics because I simply can't help myself. And of course, there'll be homework because someone has to balance out the parties and the fun parts of it as well. So, to know me is to know when I speak, I want to create a baseline. I need us all on the same page before we move forward. When I'm talking about longevity, we're not going to quantify that. Some of you want to be doing this 5 more years, call it a day. Some of you look 25 years ahead and you want to be in this industry, and that's fine. For me, for us today, when we're setting a baseline, longevity means we want to be in this industry, in this career, as long as we choose to do so. Now, like Andrew, I'm breaking some rules. I'm going to break some of my own rules, so thank you. You make me brave, Andrew. No, I was told with the sake of time we had, I could give you about 3 or 4 tips, and I did that. But I also took the next slide and put a bunch of tips on it and squeezed it in here, because here's the thing. I'm saving my best tips for you. I'm saving my best advice, but I am doing a massive disservice if I come to you guys and I don't recognize there are a handful of basic tenets that, guess what, a lot of people don't follow. All of this sounds obvious, I know, but if I didn't see people skipping all these steps all the time, I wouldn't be talking about it. So these are the 4 things I need you to do. First and foremost, you need to know your numbers. The end, that is profit, and that is revenue, and that is how much it costs to come to RSVP and buy a Carnaby-themed-ish outfit. It was my 3rd try, give me a break. I did my best. But what that's gonna cost, money in, money out. Now, I have a Michelle Loretta from B-Sage Consulting who is not sponsoring me, but I've been with her for 8 years. Barring any sort of huge crisis, I know 18 months from now what my cash flow is going to be looking like. I hope that for other people as well. If you don't know your numbers, you can't make informed decisions about your business. I want to scream, can I get an amen? No, I don't know. I'm feeling this vibe here. Anyways, also, speaking of not sexy, organization. And by that I mean systems, processes, SOPs. You're doing a huge event, and someone calls in with whatever, do you have the training to get people jumping in as quick as humanly possible? Organization is not sexy, and I know that, but so many people skip it. How many of us, no need for a raise of hands, because I know the answer already, you've got your fun, creative, amazing people who you work with. These creatives who, they're always a little late, not checking their email, all discombobulated, and it's cute, right? It's supposed to be cute. It's, I'm creative, it's left brain, right brain, what? No. You have to have your ish together in order to do anything else that we're going to talk about next. Now, I am extremely neurotypical. I live in a house where I'm the only neurotypical. Everybody else is neurodivergent. I would be an ableist if I stood up here and said, y'all, just get organized. Get yourself together. That's not easy for everybody, and I recognize that. What I'm saying is if that is not your thing, surround yourself with people who that is your thing. Next, your team, speaking of, that's internal, that's external. 2 weeks ago, mark it on the calendar, I had emergency surgery. What? I know, appendectomy, I made it sound very dramatic, Jalek, but it was just my appendix. Although who knew something that's the weight of an earthworm would wreak so much havoc on the last 2 weeks of my life, but I was lucky because I have a team that can take over. I texted them a selfie. Guess where I am? And they're like, what? I'm in the hospital. And they were able to take over. Most people didn't even know I was out. I was very fortunate to have those folks. But it's also hiring the people externally. So lucky to have, Leah was amazing. It was so good to have her here. Get a lawyer before you need one. If she didn't say it, I was going to say it. One of us has to say that. It's very true. Having the insurances and the things before things hit the fan. I don't love talking about the pandemic, but the fact is, I was prepared for years for that, not realizing it was coming. My money lady came to me and she goes, well, because I'm the Chicken Little, she's like, you've been preparing for this for years, so let's do this and have that external team. Finally, your destination. And what I mean by that is a direction, goals, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever you want. The statistics don't lie on this. What we see time and time again, if you have any indication of where you want to go and you put it down, and I'm talking to my woo-woo people with the mood boards and all that, that's fine. You got a mood board, have that. Write it on a Post-it note. Have it in an Excel spreadsheet if that's your thing. But to have a direction that you allow to evolve, the number of times over you're more likely to actually accomplish it is astounding. So these are the 4 things. This is my cheat slide. Let's get into it. I need you to embrace relevancy. That's what long-running successful companies do. What I mean by that is understanding the audience in front of us. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about the branding and the ideal client and the avatars. There are people much smarter than me who can come up and talk about that. I'm talking about the 25 to 35-year-olds right now who you're working with, you're hiring, they're the wedding party, all the things. We need to know every single ounce of them. Now, yeah, are some of them your customers and not everybody? Sure. But it's important that we embrace that relevancy and really get to know that audience. We need to know thy audience. We need to understand their buying behaviors. I've got great news. I come bearing good news. These guys, we're talking by 2030, Gen Z, millennials, and Gen Alpha, that's your flower girl ring bearers right now, they're going to own 80% of all luxury goods globally. Other good news, when it's you versus a big box, they're going to go for the small business owner. Every time we see Taylor Swift go into a football game, she is wearing Etsy stuff. She's wearing small business owner stuff. She's not buying mass-produced stuff. It's because this generation, they love a good small business. Now, with the good news comes the bad news. Brand loyalty, not their specialty. In fact, brand abandonment is something we need to be super aware of with our audiences. 2 reasons they leave, the big ones. 1, if your values are not in alignment with theirs. What I mean is this. If being sustainable is especially important to them, they want to see that on your site. If they are major LGBTQ allies and they want to make sure that everyone who comes is feeling welcome at their wedding, they're going to see where you stand with that and your commitment to inclusivity. These things are very important to them. The other thing, your website. If it takes more than 2 seconds to get what they need, they are bouncing. So you need to be mindful of your digital presence. Social media habits. Let me tell you. Do we have TikTok people here? Okay, I've got a few. Renee, I knew I could count on you. So, because this won't mean a lot to my non-TikTokers, I'm at the hospital. I'm at the emergency room, having my appendix, didn't burst, so we're in good spirits, but I have to move over to a hospital that actually has a surgeon. So they're gonna put me in an ambulance, which is wildly dramatic for the fact that I'm like cracking, like I'm having a great day otherwise. I mean, I was fine. I don't know if I hope no one's ever been in the ambulance. What they do is they like strap you in, and I'm like, where am I going? And they lift me up, these 2 23-year-old EMTs. This is gonna be important. And they shove me in, and they said, this was 2 weeks ago. They go, this was so easy, so seamless. So I go, so demure, so mindful. And as they're closing the doors, they yell, so Gen Z. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I've been saving that for somebody who gets it. But that is a thing. If you don't understand what that joke is, you are 2.5 weeks behind. I love TikTok so much. Anyways, know their social media habits. Know that 30% of your sales begins on social media with these guys. Know that short form video. I loved watching all those cool videos. That's the way. This is how they take in all their information. Relationship with technology as well. Understanding that they're on their mobile. You need to know what your website looks like with that, and you have to understand that that is how they do business. Everybody should be saying you're great. It is wonderful to have a beautiful site and a curated Instagram and the right Carnaby Street dress in lipstick and blah, blah, blah. It's great. The magic is when other people are constantly saying, you're great. That is called social proof. These are the things we need to work on. I'm sure you're looking at this saying, testimonials, I've got them. Do you have them from 2024? No, mostly we don't. Do we have video testimonials? Do we have vendors saying that we're great to work with? I would encourage you to have a system, see, going back to that slide about getting organized, have some sort of repeatable task. Twice a year you're grabbing testimonials. You're making sure that you have them. You've got them on video. People want to see. Be like those toothpicks on Amazon with 8,000 reviews. That's what you really want to be. On Amazon, everybody has 1 million reviews. You want to have all the reviews, all the testimonials. Now, publicity, that's sort of my thing. Understatement. And I could spend 3 hours if James would have given me talking about this. 2 things I want you thinking about. 1, I want you to think about those gorgeous wedding features, because I'm going to tell you right now, when Santa Martha Stewart Weddings blesses you with a feature, it makes a difference. I'm going to point out Renee here. We worked with Renee on a feature from 2020, Martha Stewart Weddings. She went way above and beyond to get these gorgeous flat lays, and she tells me she still gets business from it. Take your most gorgeous, stylistically forward-thinking weddings. Take the time to send them to blogs and publications. You can do them on your own. I'm a terrible salesperson. Go, do them on your own if you want. Just make sure that you're doing it. Splendid Insight shares that one of the top 3 ways that couples will find you is going to be through those features. Next, being quoted. We talk about relevancy, right? If you want to be relevant, you want to be quoted. You want to be the expert. How many times have we seen an article in the New York Times, like the one we recently had, and we're like, oh, well, that's great, I guess, that my friend got quoted, but I could have totally done that. The people who are getting quoted are the ones who prioritize it. And it's really catapulted since 2020. In the first 60 days after COVID started, we did 100 features, 100 articles. And I have seen since then, there's always still stuff to talk about. There are trends, but I have seen that being a guiding light has absolutely made a difference when it comes to getting in front and being relevant in front of your audience that you're looking to do. Now, on top of that, I'd be remiss if I didn't share awards. Congrats to my fellow nominees, by the way, for tomorrow. I'm very excited about that. But what I want you to do is get organized. Again, get with your amazing team. Identify the awards where you would love to potentially be, considered and nominated, and start to just put it on a calendar so that you follow along, you follow up, you know when the deadline is. Because here's the thing, I don't know why I judge so many awards. I don't know if I'm judgy or just say yes to everything or whatever, but I've done a ton of awards, and this isn't to take away from the great people who've had them, but for the people, I go in and I'm always shocked at that there are not more people applying for them. It's always so interesting to me. So apply to the awards. If none of these other things catch your interest, in leadership, not just being an industry leader. What does that mean? It means being a leader in associations, in groups, sitting on boards, sitting in committees. You want everybody to say that you're great, including the vendors around you. Next, do the little things right. I want you to have flawless client-customer journey. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that actually in our next session. I want to see people doing that. But the magic is on the little unexpected details. The magic is when you open yourself up to be able to create surprise and delight opportunities that people are actually going to remember. I am going to talk till I'm blue in my face about the Jewel Hotel, which I'm staying at. Shout out to Sandy downstairs, who got me in early. I didn't even tell her, but I didn't even pull the appendectomy card. She just let me do it, which was amazing. And I have this gorgeous view of St. Patrick's Cathedral. It was a small thing to her, but it was a big thing to me. I was so fortunate because when I worked at a property that was around since 1895, I contend that one of the big reasons they've been around that long is because they just paid attention to all the details and found opportunities. I continue to live that life. These wild-looking slides, well, when I was told I was going to have to do a Carnaby theme, and I was like, what in the world is that? And then James mentioned go-go boots, and I'm like, I have to go in another direction with this, I went and did some research. And so there's this, Lord James in the 1960s was this iconic store on Carnaby Street that had this mural on it. So I went and found a designer to come and hand do it again, and then I plastered it over my slides, hoping the RSVP team didn't ask me where my go-go boots were, because I'm like, I did it. I did this instead. Doesn't it look good? I did. I can't do go-go boots. But anyways, it's about finding the opportunities. So this is what I want. You've got to have the mindset. You want to build out modest budget. Modest budget, once a month, just to have something to gives you the opportunity to do small things for people. Van Gogh put it best. I'm going to paraphrase him. He said that great things don't happen by impulse. They happen as a series of little themes. So go ahead and make those opportunities available and encourage your team as well. People should be the answer every single time. We talk about business decisions. We talk about legal decisions. We should be doing a people audit and asking ourselves, when we're making these decisions, how does it impact other people? It astounds me how many decisions we make day to day in business, we're not considering how it's going to impact anybody other than ourselves. I had a part-timer who worked for me for years, really great work, all the things. She decides to wrap up with me due to personal reasons, which turned out to be 30 days later, she opened a competing firm against me and didn't even have I love that face because that's how I felt on my insides. And I didn't even have a chance. It was legally she could do it. Thanks, Commonwealth of Virginia. She could do it. But she didn't even have the guts to come tell me. She wasn't thinking about people with that. And you may say to me, well, Megan, she was young, just out of school. Well, I've had a VA earlier this year. I had to let go because she went ahead and started offering my competing services and didn't even tell me she was going to do it. And that's tough. We've got to think about people. Longevity are the people who actually run an audit and ask ourselves, when I'm doing something, who does it impact? And how can I make peace with that even if I have to still do the thing? People should be the answer every single thing that we're doing because we are in a people industry. Now, what it comes down to is this, and we need to remember for today. You need to give people a reason every single time to choose you. That is how you're going to have a long, wonderful business in the wedding industry. So my time is 9 seconds, and I'm up here. So I'm going to go ahead and include my information. Just in time, it stopped working. Perfect. Here, I'm going to go ahead and include some information up here. Go ahead, if you want to check out the QR code, I am giving you all sorts of social proof information, publicity information, lots of how-tos, videos, guides. You are going to be tired of me next week. I'm going to do a 5-day series for anybody who wants all the information. I am happy to be of service. I want to thank RSVP for this wonderful opportunity, and I believe it's time for a Q&A. So thank you. Oh, good. Thank goodness. Someone has to ask a question. I didn't plant anybody.
Hi, Chris J. Evans Photography. Megan, thank you so much. Talking about publications,
Yes.
and then circling back to our 12,000 content creators now on every job.
Yes.
What are some of the new dynamics that the publications, as far as exclusivity goes, so we can have a better understanding of the parameters to put on these 12,000 content creators?
That's an amazing question. Thank you for asking that. So, of course, my answer is it depends, but it does. I mean, that's the thing. Exclusivity still rules supreme when it comes to publications, okay? There are going to be some that are stricter than others. So, for the most part, what we tell people is there's a certain number of publications, typically the Vogues, New York Times, which sometimes will send its own photographer, so you got to be careful with recommending that. Martha Stewart Wedding, and of course, anything that touch what I call a celebrity or celebrity adjacent. That's people, we just did an exclusive with brides.com, for example, with one of the Olympians while he was at the Olympics, by the way. That was wild. But you have to be mindful at that level. We're not sharing. Now, the content creators, if they are paid to share same day, with the exception of celebrities, which that's a totally different conversation, anyone can come talk to me about that, it's going to be generally okay outside of kind of the parameters of those publications. Otherwise, there is an understanding there's a huge difference between professional content provided by the photographer hired that day versus the professional content creator that day. So typically it's going to be okay to share. Now, if you look ahead and you identify and you've got someone who is kind of sort of famous and there's some reason that we think it's going to go bigger than that, there needs to have a conversation ahead of time about the exclusivity and not sharing anything otherwise. But typically right now, it's okay on the content creator side. Quick shout out to my videographers. I've got great news, more and more publications, which are primarily online these days, although we do have some cool print. They are looking for video as well. So I'm really happy, like, woo, 15 years, and we're getting video on the blogs. Can you believe it? I'm so excited. So anyways, I'm excited for my videographer. So does that help a little bit? It's kind of you can always write me if you have a specific question, but if there's a celebrity adjacent or celebrity situation, you got to pull in the reins a little bit tighter. Thank you. That's a great question, especially for this crowd. I'm pointing to people, but I know they don't have microphones, so.
Hey there, I'm Aiden Mahardy. I'm a videographer. I guess.
Wonderful. Good news for you.
Yeah. I guess on that note, like, how would you recommend navigating the world of publications as a videographer as more and more start to add video content?
That's a great question as well. So first of all, what I've said until this year with videographers, I'd always go, oh, I know the question that's coming. I'm so sorry. I can't speak to why they're not incorporating as much video. I will say, before this year, what I would tell my videographers, as I would tell other folks who maybe don't get the headlining credits in publications, is I tell them, listen, still lean into being quoted. Like, I know that's not as sexy, but you can still get the as seen in the New York Times and the brides.com, because they are looking for, and I'm going to send you some great stuff next week. I did a great Q&A with the New York Times writer about getting quoted. So that's one way to go. I would say that as you get to a point where, and you're going to know the weddings. You're going to know the weddings that are going to be a little bit more publishable. What I would do is get with the photographer and planner to see just, hey, are there any plans for potential, submissions, so on and so forth? Is there anything I can provide, create? Like, it's you taking that step forward to be able to offer that and say, I've heard now, these days, they're looking for video, right? You can just blame me. I'm a good scapegoat. Blame me. And yeah, and just say that they're looking, I'd love to be able to provide something. What I would do too, I'm going to give you personal homework, is to go to look at some of the top publications you particularly admire and like to be published in and get a feel for the format of the videos they're doing now. Most of them are like a couple of minutes, you know? So does that help a little bit? Come find me if you have more questions. I love that. So thank you. Any other? I think, are we good? Okay, I think we're good. Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was a fabulous guide down that very insightful, long and winding road. Now, our final talk before lunch break, please welcome Barbie Patel, who's going to say both hello and goodbye to us during her talk. Thank you. Thank you. And over to Barbie.
Hello, hello. It's nice to say hello to everybody, right? It's nice to see everybody here. I'm Barbie Patel, and I'm excited to share with you hello and goodbye as it relates to the wedding industry. And, you know, sorry? Oh, thank you. Here are some lessons that we can learn from the Beatles as it relates to what we do. Okay, so like the lyrics say, hello to new clients and opportunities, we must also learn how to say goodbye. And how to say goodbye sometimes is hard, so we're gonna talk about that. But first, the art of saying hello. So we talk a little bit about building relationships, and you know, really first impressions matter. And when you think about first impressions and building those relationships, things like your dress, your speech, your handshake, how you look, your social media is your virtual handshake, right? Your branding, your contracts, your body language. All of this is first impressions, and that's gonna go into building that first relationship, because if you do it right, you're gonna have a client for life. Let's talk a little bit about client onboarding. Creating a seamless relationship or experience for your clients as they begin their journey with you. So my company, one of the companies I own is Cinderella Bridez, and we're a makeup agency, and we have a pretty strict onboarding process with our clients. You know, we set ourselves apart by just doing what we can do that's gonna be a step above what clients expect from you, from, let's say, a makeup agency or a makeup artist, right? And so when a client signs their contract, we do a proper onboarding. We have a call with them after they sign their contract, submit their retainer payment. We'll do a full-blown, we'll give them a timeline, we'll give them everything really laid out for them, what they can expect from us, and we manage that relationship right from the beginning. We help them to really ease the stress of their planning, because brides are stressed out. So let's go and talk about networking now. And networking, I have a lot to say about networking, but before I get into it, I want to give you a little bit of a story of how networking has completely transformed my business. And so I've been in the industry for like 17 years, and for the first part of my journey, I worked a full-time 9-to-5 job for a very long time, and I refused to quit because I could do it all, right? And so I would, have my corporate career, and then my side hustle on the weekends. My husband was eventually like, listen, you gotta stop. And so I was like, okay, fine. And during that time, because I was so busy, I didn't have the time to network, so the business grew a lot slower. But when I quit my job and I started networking at conferences like this, at different events that are wedding industry events, and meeting all of you wonderful people, my business started to grow. And we recently launched a new company where we do destination wedding travel management. And so at an RSVP conference, I think about a year ago in Madrid, I met, because I went to that conference, I took the leap of faith, spent the money. I was like, okay, let's see. I didn't know anybody that was going. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And I dragged one of my friends with me because I was like, I don't wanna go by myself. Come. She didn't come to the conference, but she was like, my roommate. And so went to the conference, shook a lot of hands, met someone there that, manages one of the beautiful properties that the next RSVP is going to be at, which is in November of this year, the Ritz-Carlton in Tenerife. And because then I was like, wow, this is a great property. Then I networked even further on social media. I saw one of my former clients, grooms, somebody I know through the industry got engaged. So I DM'd him. I'm like, hey, congratulations. If you need help, this is what we do. And so networking is at your fingertips all the time if you choose it. If you want business, guys, if your calendar is empty, go out and grab it. The business is there. And so networking is so important. But for me, what it's done is not only, helped with that aspect and where I was able to network with other vendors and get new clients, but networking builds trust. It allows you to build relationships with other professionals, leading to trusted referrals, okay? And, when you have a trusted referral, your friends in the industry, this is gonna be a little bit funny, but your friends in the industry, if they really believe and trust you, they're gonna push you harder than a pregnant woman pushes a newborn baby. Anyway, networking, collaborative success, because when we work an event together, everybody needs to really be able to get along and really be able to push that event out seamlessly. And so that's why building those relationships are really, really important. Another thing, staying updated. The industry is always changing. There's always new things that are happening. And so networking is going to allow you at these conferences to talk to each other about new things, what's working, what's not working. And just learning and growing from each other, because I think that in a room like this, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you need to get out of the room. You know what I mean? I want to know the least and learn from everybody, because you never know everything, right? And so just be that person. And, remember, every new connection is a potential opportunity. So, because of networking, I'll give you another little story. We're hosting, and I'm excited that Vow for Girls is here. I saw Caitlin before, but Vow for Girls, love you guys. We are hosting our second Diwali charity gala. We had one last year. I'm co-hosting it with a wedding planner friend of mine, and it's going to be later this year. But because of last year, because of networking and because of the relationships we built, we were able to put that event together within 30 days. And everybody came together and sponsored all the different wedding vendors, and we were able to really create a beautiful event. But it was only because of that handshake, only because of that networking. So, that is one thing that sometimes you're in a room like this and it's a little overwhelming and there's lots of people and you're like, I don't want to talk to everybody, because there's two types of people, right? There's the people that gain energy from other people, and then there's the other person who loses energy from other people. And I believe that and everybody who is a wedding professional, you're going to fall into one of those buckets. Not all of us gain energy from each other. We don't. Sometimes you're done at an event like this, you're like, I just need to go and not talk to anybody for a bit. And that's okay, because you can identify and know how your energies and what works for you and what doesn't. So then you kind of go out and you prepare yourself mentally to do what you need to do for networking, and then you go and re-energize by being by yourself, and that's okay. So that's networking. I'm a big believer in that. Okay, so sustaining your client relationships. Now, you got the client, you're like, okay, yes, they signed the contract. Do you continue to just leave them to be and then wait until there's time that they need to meet with you, or do you really follow up? The thing is, I think communication is a really big thing when it comes to working with our clients. That's how they're going to build trust with you. So even before you get the client, following up 24 to 48 hours. One of the biggest compliments we get from a lot of our clients is that you guys really email back. You're very responsive. We appreciate that. And if you are a wedding planner here in this room and you've worked with us before, you know that. That's a priority for me, is to make sure that we follow up right away. Even if it's to say, I'm sorry, we're busy, we don't have an answer yet, but we'll get back to you. And what that shows is people, your clients, are gonna know that you prioritize them. Not only clients though, other vendors, whether it's a planner, a photographer, somebody asks you for something, you can't get it to them right away, but you communicate and say, you know what, I'll get it back to you, just give me a few more days. And what that does when you're effectively communicating, it's when something happens, like an issue arises or you have problems with the client, you're really able to address them very quickly and you maintain the client's trust because you've been in communication. Okay, I have a perfect example for our wedding travel management company. We're working on a wedding for a couple in Greece. And so if anybody has planned a wedding in Greece before, you know that the transportation and the vendors there, I see some head nods, they take forever, right? Because their work ethic is a little bit different. Like we're very on, go, and their values and their, like how they run business is very different. So it takes a long time to get quotes, to get in touch with people, to like get follow-up. And so it was taking us a little bit to get like transportation quotes for one of our couples, and they started to get frustrated and they go to the planner, I don't know, like, do they know what they're doing and whatever. And the planner told me, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna compose an email to them and let them know this is and I, put together a very professional email and send it off to them. And what that did was, yeah, that's like hard to hear that maybe somebody's like, oh, you're not doing as good as you need to do or whatnot. But is that 19 minutes already? Okay, I'm moving on. Hold on. So anyway, that was the example, but professional communication and really getting ahead of it. And that's going to show professionalism. So, well, actually, let me go back real quick. Expectations, really making sure that you have very clear expectations set from the very beginning, detailed contracts, establishing boundaries, being transparent, and addressing change promptly. If you have something where you're, there's a certain timeline that you set for them and then you don't communicate that there's a change, that's going to give you, problems with miscommunication. And personalization, I mean, that like personalizing your services to tailor what your client needs. So we use a lot of different things. We'll use branding, we give them like bridal robes, we give them books, we give them lots of different things to really personalize and make them feel unique and special. So negotiating and knowing your worth. Can I ask a question? Is this the countdown or is this how much time I have left? Countdown. Okay. All right, good. All right. I got nervous for a second. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, there we go. So negotiation, knowing your worth, standing up for your values, right? So valuing your services. And I know sometimes if you're new in this, like into the industry, maybe only a couple of years, or you've been doing this a really, really long time, you're always going to come across those clients where they're going to ask you to negotiate, right? Especially South Asians, you're going to be asked to negotiate. Oh, give me a discount, this and that. And the thing is, I'll give you my like little secret of what I do. We never discount. We don't use the word discount. We don't like that. I value my services. So what I do is I instead will give them something on top of whatever that they, so if they ask for a discount, we'll say, we can't do that, but we can give you this on top. And we add something into the mix so it makes them feel like they're winning. It's like a psychological thing, but it really does wonders. And know your worth and don't hesitate. If you feel like you're charging X amount because of your experience, and then there's nothing wrong with that. You value your worth in dividends when compared to dollars. And once you start the discount game, you're going to have to offer it to everybody in their network. So it's best to just keep pricing fair and standard. And setting fair prices. So ensure your pricing reflects the quality and value of your services. If you charge a lot, then, if you charge whatever is a lot, it depends on the space that you're in. But if you feel like you have a higher amount or you have higher packages, then add things into those packages that's going to make the client feel like they have an added value. So if it's, it could be anything. Maybe it's like if you're a photographer, like you're adding like a pre-shoot or, something that's going to kind of give them a little bit more value. And every once in a while, kind of look around and see what the landscape looks like, right? Because, you could, yes, be laser focused on what you do and don't worry about what the industry looks like as a whole. But the reality is that things are always changing. And if we don't change, then we're going to get left behind, right? If you remember, I used to have a BlackBerry back in the day when I worked my corporate job, and then I had my own phone. And if you remember back in the day, BlackBerry really was hard to change. They didn't want to change they didn't want to go to the smartphone. They had that typewriter button thing, and they didn't change. And what happened was they got left behind, right? And so remember that, yeah, set fair prices, but look at the landscape of what market you're in. Florida market is going to be different than maybe the New York market or, the California market. Okay. Now, setting boundaries. Don't say yes to everything and protect your time and resources. Okay. Warren Buffett, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Who has a hard time? I'm going to ask you guys to raise your hands, but who has a hard time saying no? Sometimes, right? I know I do. I have a hard time saying no because there's that fear of missing out, right? FOMO. And then it's you don't want to let people down. But the reality is you have to protect your time and your resources. If you have a certain vision, you want to make sure that you're working towards and aligning what you're doing with that vision. Let me go to the next one. Here we go. Steve Jobs. It's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. What does that mean? Right? Sometimes it's hard. The no's are hard, and the goodbyes are hard, right? But it's only when you really take time to say, is this going to help me evaluate, self-evaluate? Is this going to, fit what I'm looking for? Is this going to help me move forward? Is this going to slow me down? And based on that is how you make your decision, right? I have one more. It's not a slide, but Richard Branson, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Clients are the same. There's always another one coming. So sometimes when it's hard to say no, you still do it because you know that client sometimes is not the right fit. So that leads into letting go of opportunities that don't fit, okay? Aligning with your narrative and only pursuing opportunities that are going to align with your long-term goals. And so let's talk about this quote right here. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe, right? And so when you're aligning with your narrative, you're basically, the actions, the business, the things that you're doing is going to align with your long-term focus and your long-term vision. And sometimes saying no to certain projects or clients can help you prevent you from burnout, and it's going to keep you passionate about your work. Have you ever done something like you've taken on a client and then you're working with them and you're like, oh, I can't wait for their wedding to be over? Who's had that? Raise your hands. Everybody, I'm sure if you've done this long enough, you at least had one client like that, right? And so sometimes those things, what happens is when you accept those types of clients and that energy, it drains you. And when you love what you do, sometimes because of those clients, you become less passionate about what you do. During COVID, I'm sure everybody went through this, I know I did, you had to question, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing for me, right? Or when you've had a difficult interaction with someone, you're like, is this the best thing for what I need? But sometimes avoiding burnout, that's important. That's why setting boundaries is important, so you can avoid burnout. Clearly defining your work hours, your communication with your clients. You really need to maintain a healthy work life. And I know I'm guilty of it, super guilty. And these are things that I self-reflect on all the time, because sometimes I'll take calls and it's like, I have kids, I have a husband, it's dinner time. My husband's like, you need to stop taking calls after 6 p.m. And I'm like, you're right. Because when you think of the order of priority, why we're doing all of this, what we're doing, and why we're doing it, you're doing it for your family. So the family, should come first, and then, work, and then everything else, right? And so it's important to remember that. And what I've learned in the past 3 years, and I feel like I could pat myself on the shoulders because it took me a really long time to get here, is delegate and outsource. And what I mean by that is I was always afraid of letting somebody help me with my business. I didn't want anybody in my inbox. I didn't want anybody I could do it better myself. I could take the sales calls. And once I hired a full-time assistant to help me with everything. And then also I've been curating my own internal team, like a marketing team. So I'm not doing all the social media content and editing. I have a call with them once a week. I tell them we talk about our social calendar, what's going out this entire month, and then it just is executed by the team. And then even for my assistant, I just have a call with me maybe once every other day, and she takes care of what I need her to take care of. And that has really helped me to feel like a little bit more relieved or less overwhelmed. And then prioritizing self-care, scheduling your breaks, scheduling vacations, investing in opportunities that recharge you mentally and physically. Those are really important, and that's why it's important to let go of opportunities that don't fit and say goodbye to them. Because if you don't, eventually you're gonna be we've all seen people that have come into this industry and exit as quickly as they came in, right? And that's because they're not practicing some of these principles. So remember that. Managing client load, building strong relationships, all of that is going to go into that. Okay, let me go to the next one. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. Okay, do what makes you happy. If you take away one thing, do what makes you happy. Okay, and I'm almost going to wrap this up because we're going into questions. Finding balance in the wedding industry and embracing the power of hello. And again, wrapping up, don't be afraid to say goodbye. Letting go with grace and integrity. So I'm going to just acknowledge the situation. I'm going to give you a couple of lines on how to let go, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So if you need to let go of difficult clients, here are some things you can say. Begin by expressing and understanding that and acknowledging that not every collaboration is a right fit. So you could say something like, I appreciate the opportunity to work with you, to work together, but it seems our vision and expectations may not be aligning as we hoped. Or another is, I believe it may be in both of our best interests to conclude our contract at this point so you can find a service provider who better suits your needs. I know these conversations are hard, but it's important. And then provide maybe some type of assistance for smooth transition. I'd be happy to recommend a few other vendors to you who might be a better match for your vision. So those are just different ways that you can kind of politely decline and let go. All right, I'm done. I have so much more to say. I know there's a lot on this topic, but any questions? What experience do you guys have in saying hello and goodbye in your business? Yes. Hi.
Rachel. I don't know if we're introducing, but I'm Rachel. Hi. Thank you. I love saying no. So when you raised your hand about the who's afraid to say no, and so many people raised their hands, I was like, oh, ask who likes saying no, because I often try to encourage our team to say no, because it's exactly that. There's this analogy of a chair, like this story about a chair, that there's a chair in a room and you've always hated the chair, and just every year you look at the chair and you don't like it. And then finally one day you spill your coffee on the chair and you're like, oh shoot, I need a new chair. So then you throw out the chair, and then the next day you're shopping and you find the chair of your dreams in the store. And you're like, this is the chair. But you never would have found that chair if you didn't say no or get rid of the thing first. And it's really similar to what you were speaking about. And I just so believe that if you could empower everyone here to say no more often, that next client, that next business, that next sale, whatever it may be, is coming, and it's just such a gift to yourself to really stay true to what aligns with your vision, what aligns with what you like to do, your company values, and just say no. I just love that you said that. So say no, everyone. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Agreed. There's somebody back there. Oh, I hear too.
Hi.
Hello.
You know I love you.
Hello.
Hi. So, right as you're talking, I have an email from a bride of mine on Friday. Again, the same thing. They keep on pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. You give in, you give in, you give in. Again, you're all worried about making it the best day, getting that best review, making sure your clients and their families are happy. But at the end of the day, it puts that feeling in your stomach a lot of times because we're not able to say no. So I appreciate you. And as you were saying that, I told my bride no.
Oh my God, yay. Thank you. I'll give you a hug later. Anybody else? Oh,
Hi, I'm Doreen with Sassify Luxury Events. One of the things that I've learned with myself, yes, I love saying no as well, but one thing that I actually been doing and actually been working is I've had a couple clients that will come to me and tell me, oh, you're very expensive, you know, like this is too expensive. And I'll politely tell them, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I am not expensive. It's just that you can't afford me.
I love that. And then after you say that, do they still hire
After I say
you?
that, I swear to God, I've booked 3 clients that go with me because of the pride. No, I'm gonna book with you.
So then after you say that, they still book?
No, some of them will be like, oh no, I had the budget. It's just that a lot of things came to, a lot of things came. And I'll be like, I understand, that's okay. Next time, you're welcome. But pretty much that's what I say.
All right. There's one right there.
Sorry, I'm going to step aside. I don't want anyone staring at my ass. Hi, I'm Nirdri with Kiss Cube. So, saying no, I'm Indian. I deal with Indian people all day. Basically, it's dealing with my father all the time. But I have a client, well, who's not my client right now, but his daughter's getting married, and this is actually a very interesting situation. He's hired 3 wedding planners and fired 3 wedding planners.
Oh, my.
And I was stop number 4. And I have worked with him before for several events at his home and stuff like this. He's deciding that he's going to throw a big event for his daughter's wedding, 5 big events. He told me one number of guests. He told the caterer a different number, all of that. As I looked further into a project, because it seemed like it's a great project, and I dug deep into it, it's a recipe for disaster. And, I had to basically message him, number 1, and say, hey, listen, I don't think this project is right for me. He is chasing me down, wants me to take him on. He's like, we want to give you first right of refusal and all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, listen, if your wedding was going to actually happen in a venue that made sense for you and not you have 800 people in your backyard where your land just got leveled and this 20,000 square foot tent that you're going to build is not going to sink in Georgia weather in October if it decides to rain. So I just want to say, for those of you dealing with the South Asian market, we know they like to push. Don't step down. Don't step down because it's so important for you guys to maintain your value. And a lot of times us who are working in the South Asian world and we're doing events globally, our clients think that they can negotiate out of situations such as weather, money, logistics, all of it. And I think for me, even though it was this client is someone I've worked with before, but saying no to him for this situation was probably the best no I've ever said in my career in 20 years, because I was like, I'm not setting myself up to fail, even though I can turn it around, because 50% of his guests have hired us before. So they understand the quality, they know what we're gonna do. I'm not going to take him on, and my company was not going to take him on to fail. And there's a lot of clients that don't tell you the full truth when you're trying to actually build your business or you're trying to help them out. It's always as if they're trying to help you. So serve yourself before you keep trying to serve others.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're almost out of time. I don't know if there's anybody else, but
Hi,
hi.
it's Sarah. Here, Barbie. Okay. So I just wanted to say something. I've been doing my job 23 years as a wedding planner, and I must say it used to be very hard to say no, especially when you're starting and you're starting in a market. But now I think the thing that helps me most is gut feeling. I will never take on anyone if I don't do 1 or 2 consultations and I know exactly who I'm going to deal with. And sometimes you get this feeling here and going, oh my God, these are going to be a nightmare. Should I charge triple? But is it worth the money? Because I've done that. And they still took everything out of me. And I got so stressed. So I don't know, it's not a matter of money, I think. I think it's a matter of gut feeling now. So I just wanted to say that. So yes,
It's
for no.
protecting that inner peace, right? Well, my time is up. Thank you guys so much for sharing and learning from me today. And thank you. All right.
Thank you so much, Barbie. That was so insightful, and I feel like we could all talk about that topic on when to say no to clients for much longer. So next time, make a note. Well, we're going to say goodbye to you all now until 2:20 for a brief lunch. So please go and enjoy. It's going to be in the same room, and we'll see you back here at 2:20. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.